And we would start, please, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The second order of business is the approval of the minutes from the September 26th meeting. Are there any additions or correction to those minutes?
I had a couple
Okay?
questions or maybe corrections. So on number 5, first page, paragraph number 5, it says Roxanne Hemphill conditionally approved the signage. So I don't know if that was the commission or whether Roxanne approved it all by herself.
I think that was, did I move? Yes. It should say Roxanne Hemphill moved to conditionally approve.
Conditionally
Yeah.
approved. Okay. The other thing, I thought with the Shiny Shell car wash, I thought the other, I don't know if it was, maybe it wasn't an official condition, but there was some discussion about them talking to State Highway. I see them, that it has to be referred to streets and roads, but I thought we discussed the State Highway. Does anybody remember that?
Yeah, they're consultants in consultation with them, State Highway.
So should that be, I don't know if that is a condition or not, but it's not listed here, so you all can
If
decide.
it wasn't read into the motion, then I don't put it in there.
Okay, so if it was in the motion, okay.
It is part of our comments, so
Okay, got it. All right,
it's covered.
and that's it. Thank you. See, look, I read them.
Okay, anything else? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
Also move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, minutes pass. Our next item is citizen comments. These are for items that are not on the agenda. Do we have anyone who has any comments at this time? All righty, we move on to our Carroll and Frederick County.
Think we do.
Oh, I'm sorry. There, please. State your
It's on.
name,
Should be on.
and if you reside in the town of Mount Airy or
The
not.
battery probably. I'm pretty sure it was turned on earlier. You can sit at the table.
Yeah, over to.
Have a seat at the table.
All right, thank you. My name is Andy Hunt. I live on 2406 Braddock Road, Mount Airy. I'm not within the town boundaries. I'm here representing the Citizens Against Mount Airy Overdevelopment, also known as CAMO. We are a grassroots organization of citizens who are concerned about the development within town. And I'd like to read you our vision statement and mission statement because we represent almost 1,400 people who are part of our Facebook group. And we've been in a process of developing.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt you? Because I didn't tell you how long you had. I apologize for
Okay.
that, okay?
I'll be done shortly.
Well, just, you have 3 minutes, okay?
I'll be done under 3 minutes. So we're organizing ourselves as citizens. Our vision for CAMO is that CAMO envisions Mount Airy as a thriving community that values open space and preservation of small-town charm. Our mission statement in achieving this vision is that CAMO informs, educates, and mobilizes citizens to work collaboratively and promote transparency in Mount Airy government and activities related to growth and development. So we look forward to working with you and the council in the future. Thank you.
I would ask, please, so that we have this in the record. You're going to read it in the record, but could we have a copy of that, please, to put into the record?
I'll get you a copy.
Thank you. Moving on, anyone else? Moving on, we'll,
Roxanne.
Hello, Planning Commission. Thank you for your service to our town. My name is Nicole Moon, as most of you already know probably. I live at 405 Windy Knoll in town. And kind of relaying what Mr. Hunt had spoken about, we represent CAMO. We were previously the Residents Against Mount Airy Overdevelopment. We are organizing, and I wanted to specifically read you our position statement on, we have multiple position statements on different properties and different situations within the planning of the town. Tonight, I'm going to read you, because I know it is going to be coming up back on the table here soon, our position regarding the Beck development. CAMO believes the Beck property planning process should restart, given there is a new development team. CAMO is requesting that the Planning Commission and Town Council offer a charrette with public comment for the new property development team. It is unfair to the Mount Airy community for a new developer to move forward with a Planning Commission workshop without public comment on the new pre-concept plans. We recommend there be no waiver to the APFO standards for open space because the town is currently in a significant deficit of open space. We understand that the town council has the authority to decide whether the process goes back to the charrette stage of the process, but because it'll look like a different plan and citizens have not had the chance to comment, we're asking you to recommend to the council to offer a charrette before the concept plan is officially in a workshop. Thank you.
thank you. I will comment to that. It is yes, the council has the decision to make to start it over. I think I don't know what their position is, whether they're leaning or not, but I'm sure that will come up at the next meeting, the council meeting. If it does, I can stand up and say, I understand your position, and we'll figure it out. Mhm. Anybody else? I keep lowering my head, and everyone, okay. I'm going to first read a statement from our Hannah, our Carroll County planner, could not be here this evening, and she has sent us her updates and a memorandum, which I'm going to read for the record. These are the updates for the county for information for our county planning commission. Transportation master plan. The Mount Airy chapter will be presented to the county planning commission at their November 15th meeting. The Eldersburg and Finksburg chapters were presented at their October planning commission. Number 2, the consolidated transportation plan tour, or the CTP. The county hosted the annual tour meeting with MDOT and the county town officials on October the 13th. This meeting was to discuss projects selected for MDOT CTP with county and town officials and give town officials the opportunity to discuss ongoing transportation schedules in their municipality. The recording can be found on the county's meeting portal or YouTube page. And number 3, agricultural and conservation zoning text amendment. The planning staff are still working with the Board of County Commissioners on the amendment. Adoption of the text should be in November. And I have 2 questions. I don't know, John, if you can answer them or not.
Possibly.
Or Barney. Was anyone in attendance from the town of Mount Airy at the CTP tour?
I'm pretty sure Carl was in attendance. I know that as the official for the town. I'm not sure of anybody else. I was actually on vacation right then, so I'm not sure who did go.
And it talks about the master plan, the transportation master plan. Is that the master plan that the county puts together for Mount Airy? That's not ours. We don't have ours ready. So how?
No, they're doing an overall transportation,
Okay.
and they're looking for feedback potentially from if we have any revisions to our transportation plan.
To ours or to their?
So
To
from,
ours to put into theirs. If there's any updates from the town of Mount Airy for the transportation plan that the county's putting out.
Do you have a deadline in there?
Carroll County.
It's November 15th. So I guess we'll be working on that at the workshop.
I can put that on the agenda.
Oh, sorry.
Let's see if we can get a copy of that meeting and identify pertinent comments and elements of the CTP tour.
Oh.
Relative to our transportation situation.
We are on, so there's a list of projects that throughout Maryland, all the different municipalities, or in Carroll County, for improvements to state highway type of things. I know that was one of the big items. I think 27 did make the list. I think it's number 5 on the list of projects that are,
The 27 here in Mount Airy.
7 corridor in Mount Airy, yeah. Pretty sure.
Well, my concern is we haven't started working on our master plan, the transportation part of the master plan, yet they want to know if we have any revisions. How can we do that? And I don't want something that we want in there to be missed because we don't have ours done yet.
I understand what you're saying.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that on the 3rd, is it?
Okay,
November
on the
3rd.
10th?
The 3rd, November the 3rd, right?
Well, I have it here down as the 10th. On the agenda, it says November the 10th.
That's probably because this meeting originally was going to be the 31st.
That's right.
We don't ever do it the same week, so.
Okay.
We can move it to the 4th or the 3rd or whatever, if you want to, or you just have to.
We'll discuss that.
Okay.
John, maybe it's worth you reaching out to Hannah. It sounds like we may have a couple of questions about timing and
Sure.
so forth, and see what her thoughts are in that regard.
Next, I see that our Frederick County planners here. Welcome, Tim.
Tim?
Good evening, Planning Commission members. I have a short PowerPoint to present this evening.
Okay?
John
We're
could,
waiting for the
Yes.
projector to come up here.
a few slides this evening, just an update on some major activities that are undergoing in Frederick. Okay. This is, you've seen this before, this is the Linganore Town Center South, it's called, along Old National Pike. And 70 there you see, so the site plans on the left there in black font are ones that have already been approved, some are already constructed. And then the new site plans that are in are the McDonald's and a dental office. So there are still 2 remaining lots that are undeveloped at this point. So that's close to build out. Just a little update there. Okay, next slide. Oh, yes.
Another McDonald's? You said a McDonald's.
Yes, on the right-hand side in the red font, those are the new site plans that have been submitted to the county for construction there along that corridor.
Okay, so they have one in Newmarket. It's gonna be like
Very, very close.
5 miles.
Yeah, or less, yeah.
Okay, okay.
So that
Very
entire
quick.
area between Old National Pike and 70 is going to have commercial retail development.
This England Woods, the town of Newmarket voted on that, I believe, last week or the week before. No decision has been made by their town council yet, I'm told. The green outline there is the existing town limits of Newmarket, and they're going to be using the right-of-way of Old National Pike to connect to the England property there. So that's how they'll get continuity to that property there. It's adjacent to the Woodspring community there up at the upper left-hand. That's a corner, that's a subdivision in the county. A lot of those property owners were against the annexation. There's a road connection that's proposed through Woodspring into the development. So that's undetermined. The town has not voted yet on that, but they've held their public hearing.
So Tim, are you saying that the actual annexation will go down Old National Pike, and that's how they're going to gain access? So these parcels and these parcels here will not be part of the corporate limits,
That is correct.
and then there'll be access potentially coming in over here, looks
That's
like.
correct. With the main access off of Old National Pike.
Gotcha.
And it's for
Age
age
restrict-
restricted, 550 residential units. Okay?
Yep, 55 and older.
Okay, next slide. So this property, it's unknown at this point whether they'll be pursuing development in the county through a rezoning. It has a weird zoning configuration. It has 3 different zoning districts, R5, light industrial, and office research industrial. It's kind of a relic from the 1980s. So they're proposing to change that to all industrial. And so at this point, as I mentioned, it's undetermined whether they'll seek development in the county or pursue annexation to Newmarket. But the land use proposal that was submitted to us as part of the rezoning application was 2 large Costco distribution warehouses.
So again, my question really quick would be, so this is, of course, the parcel we were talking about just a second
That's
ago.
correct.
So this continuation is including this whole area?
No,
as
the
part of that, or
the red
just
line,
This area here?
yeah, the red line, John, is the county's community growth area.
Okay, that's the growth boundary.
Yeah.
Okay. And the parcel you're talking about are basically around this whole area, kind of?
That's exactly right.
Gotcha.
Did you say Costco?
Yes, a Costco distribution warehouse.
Possible or definite?
That's what they've submitted with the
Oh, okay.
rezoning
They
application.
have- Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's not near where they have the other distribute,
Yeah, it is. I probably should identify some of the,
yeah,
so, John, you can use your highlighter, or?
Of course.
Okay, so that's 70 and Route 75, the interchange at Route 75 and Interstate 70. That's Baldwin Road as it
Yes,
travels
yes.
west, then Green Valley Road. So the existing warehouses are farther to the west there. right-
Okay,
right
there,
out of the-
okay, that's all
out of the
right.
view.
And how many of them are back there?
Oh, there are quite a few.
Yeah,
No, I think I misspoke. The rezoning application is for a Target distribution. warehouse.
But I thought it was targeted in the.
because I
Costco is
thought
already
Costco's already
Yeah,
there,
that's right.
okay.
I stand corrected.
Okay,
Okay, next slide. Okay, so it's just a summary points of the Sugarloaf plan. First, we can advance the first one?
Is this the project is causing so much controversy?
Slightly, yes. So the draft plan was released in July of 2021. In addition to the plan document, it did have a comprehensive rezoning process. We had 2 major implementation components associated with the plan, the Sugarloaf Rural Heritage Overlay Zoning District, and then we created a new use in our zoning code for a private park. Our next slide, advance it. So we did have an advisory group, a stakeholders advisory group we worked with for a long time. They were really just kind of a focus group, a sounding board to what the staff was contemplating and developing at that point. All right, next slide. So the Planning Commission spent quite a long time reviewing the initial draft. They made some significant changes, held public hearings, and many, many months of workshops. Then they transmitted their plan in July of this year to the county council. The county council was under kind of an aggressive, accelerated review process to review the plan and the overlay and all the rezonings. They did make some substantial changes to what the Planning Commission had given them. And tomorrow is the final adoption of everything, the plan, the 2 pieces of legislation, and the rezonings. This is the other plan that the office is working on, the South Frederick Corridors
Excuse
plan.
me, Tim,
Yes.
what type of changes did the council make?
Yeah, so there was a proposal in the draft plan and the Planning Commission's recommended plan to rezone all of the steep forested stream valleys from the current agricultural zone that most of them had to our resource conservation zoning district. And they did not support that. And they did make some, they did make some other changes to the overlay zone, the overlay district. And the latest amendment to the overlay was just introduced last week, and they'll vote on that tomorrow. So that essentially, what the amendment is, it excludes, well, the overlay applies to the entire planning area with the exception of 3 developed parcels at the Route 80, 270 interchange, 3 developed commercial properties. So the overlay is just an additional layer of standards and protection measures, essentially, because such a unique, sensitive area down at Sugarloaf, everyone knows. So the council voted to, or they will vote, the amendment is to exclude the lands owned by Stronghold Incorporated that comprise Sugarloaf Mountain and the other lands in the planning area that are zoned resource conservation. The county's resource conservation zone does, it's the most protective zoning district we have, but, you know, based on some threats, I'll say, from Sugarloaf Mountain, the board of directors at Stronghold, to essentially close the mountain and prohibit additional public access, the council took that and tried to appease them by excluding their lands from the overlay. So that's the
What
amendment
does
that was
that do
introduced.
to the whole plan?
Pardon me?
What does that do to the plan overall?
Well,
significant.
nothing to the plan document, but it's just the geographic application of the overlay. Some of that will be, some of the lands in the planning area will be excluded from the overlay.
Right.
How does that,
It's kind of a strange carve-out, my personal opinion, giving you commentary.
Is the park still open to the public, or have they taken it private and closed it down from hiking or anything?
Oh, no, it's still open now. They haven't closed it, but it's gotten a lot of media coverage. There was an article today in the Washington Post online about the plan and kind of the trials and tribulations and ups and downs it's taken. So tomorrow we'll finish the plan. They'll adopt the plan and the overlay and the private park use and the rezonings.
When will that meeting be? What time?
Begins at 5:30 tomorrow evening
In what location?
in Winchester Hall in downtown Frederick.
It's like still the workday, man. 5:30.
Well, I mean,
If we be there, we can go from.
I was going to
MPC
say,
right down
that might be a nice little field trip.
So the next plan that we're working on is the South Frederick Corridors Plan. I have mentioned this in the past. It's essentially a redevelopment plan for the Route 355-85 corridor. It does extend down south to the industrial areas. The Planning Commission has recently started their review of the draft plan. In what was released in May, I think they've had 2, maybe 3 workshops so far. This is an interesting thing. I have mentioned this too, the Peace and Plenty Rural Historic District. It's the first one in Maryland. You can see the properties there are outlined. It's bordered by Green Valley Road to the west and Dietrich Road to the east. It extends up to Old Annapolis Road. A lot of the properties are on the county register of historic places. A lot of the properties are currently under agricultural preservation easements. Okay, you can advance that. So as this has moved along, because the existence of these agricultural preservation easements, the Historic Preservation Commission, they're going to be doing a tiered process for their review and their determination of to issue, the certificate of appropriateness for any kind of alteration or change to these historic properties. And then the rest of the farmsteads will just, the review by the Historic Preservation Commission will just be advisory. So the overlay ordinance has been approved by the Frederick County Agricultural Preservation Board and the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation. And then finally, the approval by the state was conditioned upon the county council review of the overlay district, or the overlay ordinance. And the Historic Preservation Commission is still finalizing their design guidelines. They're just about done. They have to be submitted to our county council for review, and that won't happen until next year. Our new county council will be in office by then. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions? I just have one. So on that Royal Historic District, is that the one where, when they're in that, it stays that way forever?
I'm sorry, are you referring to the Sugarloaf?
No,
overlay
when
or
you're
the-
talking about the
the
Peace and
historic-
Plenty,
Peace and Plenty, yes.
the ag easements, when they're under that, the Royal Historic District, isn't that the one that, you and I talked about this earlier, because I had someone that was interested in selling their property, and it would always stay, they could never be subdivided, and it would always stay the way it was?
Generally, yes, like,
Okay.
each easement is a little bit different. but
Okay.
Generally, it extinguishes subdivision rights, it has limitations on new uses that could be established, but they are perpetual easements, those agricultural easements.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Tim.
First, next item is introduction and discussion of the possible recommendation to the town council. The text ordinance 2022-32, proposed modifications to the mixed-use CC overlay.
Did you want to discuss about the lot 15?
I did want to discuss Lot 15 first. Why did I cross that out? I'm sorry. We're going to Twin Arch, sorry. We're going to the Twin Arch Business Park, Lot 15. Discussion of the building permit and possible exception to allow to move ahead with the approval of the building permit. So, John, do you want to
So again,
give us a little update here?
This was brought to you previously, and I don't have the minutes in front of me, I apologize, but the applicant had requested, again, so initially, the applicant tore down an existing building and was looking to build a new building. When we basically stopped them from demolishing it, they requested they presented a plan that showed it with the building permit that was submitted to Carroll County. It came to me. I brought it to you for your approval and recommendation. You all recommended that the developer, the owner, would go through an amended site plan showing the new building location and orientation. The applicant has purchased steel to erect the building. And Ron Thompson, in your packet, shows the revised layout of the plan, or layout of the building. We're still on the cusp of determining if this was to be signed off on or not. Initially, it was decided that they would have to do an amended site plan. And I think the chairperson was giving me the go-ahead to sign off on it, and I was concerned that because the planning commission had said that they needed to do an amended site plan, that it should come back to you, and I'm going to defer to Tom on what the actual legal process would be. Would they have to overturn the previous motion, or would they, what would be the correct path if they were going to potentially allow this to move forward? If it was already previously denied or said that it had to go through an amended site plan for the layout.
So, I'm sorry, so to undo the motion that was previously passed that
Correct.
said it had to go through an amended site plan process?
That was what the original motion was, that the applicant and the developer would have to go through the normal process of an amended site plan.
Okay, so there would have to be a motion to basically undo that in effect.
Okay.
There's no staff report.
Well, I'm going to discuss the pros and cons.
I think we need to, I think he kind of gave the staff report. I mean, they're coming back and asking if we would reconsider allowing the building permit to go through.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Orientation.
Yeah,
I had asked for reconsideration. We had gone, I had worked with, there's been just a series of miscommunications. I got re-involved, as I told you, previous meeting or so, with the Kings and are working now on an amended site plan to develop out the rest of the property. A couple more warehouse buildings on it. They had tore the building down and had enlarged it from a 5,000 to 7,000 square foot building. They had gone through the building permit process where they had all of the agencies sign off, from stormwater management to fire protection to health department, building department, zoning review, all of the agencies that the county does. The remaining signature is the town of Mount Airy. As zoning, I think zoning administrator.
sorry?
As a zoning administrator, you sign off on the building permits?
I do.
Yeah, so that's the remaining signature. They have worked to complete all of the elements. All of the elements of the PWA of the original site plan have been completed. At the request of the town engineer, they doubled the length of water line that they installed on the site. And all of the trees have been installed. We've just recently submitted to have the PWA released, go to the town council for release on it. All of the area has been paved. That was to be paved. Working with the town engineer, it was agreed to hold off on the surface course until such time as the new building went in so that there wasn't a cut patch that went with the new pavement. Correct? So, town engineer nodded yes. So again, I'm just back, since we have all of the county approvals, asking for the council, the planning commission to reconsider. It will be shown on a new amended site plan for the rest of the buildings. Probably would have been done by now, but I got diverted to help the owner of the Mount Airy Medical Eye Center get his plans installed in here. So that took my time up.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes?
Ron Thompson, I'm looking at this, and the plan you submitted me, it shows the 7,000 square foot building, but then I see another building that's proposed. That's part of the overall development plan? Because it doesn't show that on the larger 3,000 square foot plan, so. what are you
No,
asking
it is just the one building there. There's an overlay issue going on that,
It says proposed 7,000 square foot shed building to replace 6,000 square foot shed building demolished, but you're showing
I think that
building 8 and then proposed
Building
building
9.
9. So,
it's, I have a CAD person that can't turn off the layers correctly. There's one building, 7,000 square feet there, that's being proposed.
but on your larger scale plan, it doesn't show any of the other proposed buildings that you're showing. What you presented to me shows 2 buildings, and that's what's being presented to the planning commission.
No,
not what you're
what's showing is one building. One building that's 70 feet by 100 feet for 7,000 square feet.
Is that building 8 or the proposed building 9? Why do we have a,
I think that was a leftover tag from when I was working on all of this new warehouse buildings, including a warehouse building in front of the house, a warehouse building taking the houses down, and just trying to renumber them all, in particular for fire protection, as part of a new site plan. There's only one building in this location, 70 feet by 100 feet
That's
proposed.
existing building 8,
existing, okay.
correct?
Well, that building was removed. That was all part of,
I see you have 70 feet at the top there, and you have
100 feet, yes.
at the bottom. So
And they
existing building
retained,
8 and proposed building 9 is over top of existing building 8.
it's just.
Why does it look twice as big then?
It's not twice as big. It's 7,000 square feet, 70 by 100. The previous building was 5,000 square feet. That was tore down.
Oh, okay, so actually, Building 9 is the one that's replacing the 5,000 square feet.
Right, if you go to page 4 of the 8 sheets, you'll see the layout of the building, 100 feet by 70 feet with 4 overhead doors on it. Building, sheet 5 shows the elevation of it with colors noted. 6, 7, and 8 all show the various side elevations of the building. 70 feet by 100 feet.
What was the size of the old building?
5,000 square feet.
Right, so that would have been 50 by 100?
Probably probably 50 by 100, looking at the parking spaces there, yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may, just for clarity, because I was happy to get out of pre-K,
I'm still stuck there, it looks like.
understand. On August 29th, the commission reviewed and approved an extension to the site plan presented at that time, correct?
Extension to lot 15?
Correct. The site plan extension was approved for another year of the site plan at that time?
No, we've never had a site plan extension for lot 15. I've been in for a site plan extension for lot 17 and lot 19,
Okay,
which
so
now has been
Many lots.
graded out,
Okay,
and they're in the building permit process.
okay. So this is 15, not 17, so I stand corrected. Is the site plan we are seeing tonight accurate for the purpose of reviewing a permit request? Or
It is accurate, other than there is an overdraft of a couple in the building, but the permit that the county has received shows a 100-foot by 70-foot building with all the code analysis and everything associated with it. So it went from a 50 by 100 to
70 by
70
100.
by 100-foot building.
Okay. And is this the lot where we have a deliberation regarding a residential use, and that's pending before the council, if I'm not mistaken?
That's correct.
So is it fair to say, Mr. Thompson, that a permit approval will be regarded as a favorable action by the town? I think that's fair. It's what you would like, correct?
Yeah, I would be, I believe, appropriate for
But-
someone who's trying to do the right thing in the town, the Kings.
But at this moment, in deliberating on that, is the parcel in conformity with the residential use existing?
Well, I think that's two different questions.
Well,
Okay, I mean, we have that issue that's going to the town. We're talking about the permit. The permit comes through the zoning administrator, it doesn't come through the council. And it comes through us. So we've asked for a revised site plan. And they have come back and said, we have all of the materials. They had started it. They weren't supposed to start it. It got stopped. The construction was stopped by the county, correct? There was a stop work order on it?
No, stop.
No?
We don't have all of the signatures. The final signature is the town. And until the town signs
Okay,
the
I'm
building
sorry.
permit, the building permit cannot be issued by the county. So
No,
they
right.
cannot move forward.
Right.
So it's a de facto stop order.
But the stormwater management has been approved by the county.
Approved and constructed, actually.
I mean, when we discussed this last time, part of the issue, as I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, was that they're going to have to do new site plans for all these other buildings that they're going to eventually be building, and that was one reason.
Yes, that was the reason why we had
Well,
said just,
let's just
Right.
include that in those site plans.
The issue and why I'm asking for it, that's a 1.5 year process to go through the site plan. That's a long time to leave steel sitting on the ground. And that, the plan would show that in there, but I'm just asking at this point in time that they be allowed to erect that building while we work through an amended site plan. That would detail then all of the buildings on the site as well as proposed buildings.
Madam Chair, if I could just pick back up on that last point. My only point is fairly straightforward, and that is the parcel is not in compliance right now with the zoning ordinance. Is that accurate?
I would not characterize it as not in compliance. We're waiting for a final decision on residential as to whether to eject the family and let them go seek their own housing somewhere else, pull their kids out of school and everything.
I guess what
I won't ever say the property is not in conformance because we've asked for certain items. Until that decision is made, it cannot be in nonconformance.
Well, I just read quickly from the code. Residential uses will not be permitted on the same parcel of land within a permitted industrial use. And so what we're looking at here is we're deliberating on a favorable action for a permit when it's clear that there's a non-permitted, non-conforming use on the parcel.
And there is a text amendment.
yeah, we
Understood. But right now,
I would not agree that it is in violation until there's a decision on the text amendment, because that is pending.
You're right. I mean, I think the point is, and it's actually a good point, whether there's a violation, it's all pending the town council's decision. So at this moment, it's kind of in limbo. So it would be granting a permit on something that's pending and in limbo.
When you were considering the text amendment, the council representative was advocating it just be ignored instead of doing the text amendment.
Well,
No,
He did, he
that-
shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, well, that's not what we did, is it?
No, but that's,
no, what I said is that there was concern that the town might, through its action, kick this poor family out with their kids and all of that. And what I said was that whether to enforce the town code and when to enforce it and how to enforce it is within the sound discretion of particularly the mayor and/or his designees who are charged with enforcing the code. Just as a police officer can decide to issue a warning to somebody who is above the speed limit or decide to issue a citation to the same motorist.
so again, to wrap it up, I am before you pleading to pass a motion to allow the zoning administrator to sign the building permit. The Kings are working hard to bring their property into compliance. They're working hard in making investments, not only this, but Lot 14A, which has a concept site plan in. They're investing in the town. And rather than penalizing them, detention, wrapping them on the knuckles, I'm asking that this be approved as a welcoming them into the town as they prepare their next level of plans for Lot 15, as well as what they have in now for 14A.
Ron, do you want to speak about the special exception that you brought in, or do you want me to speak about it?
I can speak about it.
I think that's the best.
Well,
No, let's hear 'em out.
I'm still with the shaded area. Do you have the original site plan that Mr.?
I do not have his original site plan.
Okay,
It did change the orientation of the building from what
Because
was
it's bigger
previously
than 70
approved.
by 100, this whole shaded area.
Yes, it does say 70 by
And-
100 on there.
Yeah, it does.
It's twice the size here, and
I don't want to, I
okay.
don't want to say yeah to something that's this.
Well, it's not
Yeah to
twice the
something
size.
It's an illusion, because I think,
It's turned so it looks
Bigger.
bigger just by visual, but it's still the same.
Okay.
70 feet by 100
so
feet.
if you look to the east of the building, existing building 8, the concrete pad that's now there, that was actually part of the building that was connected to the retains 2340 square foot existing pole shed. So
Okay.
it was abutted to that previous building. That's what the illusion is, because now there's that huge area of concrete, which is now, they changed the orientation of the building, but left a gap between the two buildings. That's what sort of is the illusion.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to the next thing.
I have one more question, if that's okay,
Yeah,
for Mr. Thompson. So, like, part of this whole, why it's an issue is because they started doing work without seeking a permit. And also, they, and then they're increasing the building size, by 2,000 square
2,000
feet.
square feet.
So why, could they have just replaced it with another 5,000 square foot building?
I think if they knew that it was going to be a problem, they would have replaced it with a 5,000 square foot building. They didn't realize they were operating on their own and didn't realize what they were getting themselves into. It's at that point that I re-engaged with the Lot 15 work in order to ensure that what they're doing is in compliance moving forward.
Okay. So you're going to be bringing a special exception.
I have already submitted a special exception for above-ground fuel tanks, 2 1,000-gallon and a 500-gallon tank. Last March, March, they contacted, and the town is going to say they didn't contact, but I can have the people come in and say who they talked to. It's just a whole series of miscommunication between the town, the county, and MDE that basically said, no, we don't have anything to do with licensing, special exceptions for above-ground fuel tanks. In reviewing the work out there, I noticed there were above-ground fuel tanks that they had installed last March and have said, no, there's a process in the town of Mount Airy in which you have to go through for a special exception. Now, to their credit, they talked to Carroll County, they talked to MDE, and they did check with the town and someone in the town said, well, we don't get involved. Go to Carroll County and MDE. They did all of that. I have the documentation where it was installed last March. So I've come back and said, no, you have to go through a special exception to see whether or not you meet the criteria for an above-ground fuel tank. A containment wall, has to have a containment wall, has to be covered, so forth, on a concrete pad. So we're in for that right now. And again, I will term that, and I did in my special exception, a miscommunication between representatives of the town, the county, and MDE.
What was the size of the tank again? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
It's just, I missed the size of the tank when I was writing.
There are two 1,000-gallon tanks
Thank you.
and a 500-gallon tank on a concrete pad with a containment wall.
Thank you.
So to clarify, that was non-permitted work.
Well, they had to get a special exception, and they did not.
Well, they went, I won't call it non-permitted because they checked with the appropriate parties and were told what to do and they did it. Just because they were told wrong doesn't mean they should be
Right.
slapped for it. I'm back in trying to legalize it.
I
I know
understand
that
you
you
are,
want
Tara.
to
I
keep
know.
telling them
I know. And-
non-permit and not permit, but, you know, at some point when they ask and they get told what to do and they do it, they shouldn't be penalized for it. I'll come back and catch up on the right process for it.
Do you have a permit for the foundation that was put out there?
It doesn't require, concrete pad doesn't require a permit.
Let me ask a question. Is there somewhere they can store this steel? I'm just asking.
The problem is, all the buildings are open, the birds get in there. The birds, they have problems leaving their equipment sometimes under the buildings because the steel is soiled from bird droppings and other things going on.
Put a tarp over it? They can't put a tarp over the steel?
I'm asking that in this one particular situation, it be allowed to move forward since they've got stormwater management approval and all the agencies just to allow this one building to be constructed. There won't be anything else done until there's an approved amended site plan.
And just once again, on the current site plan, does the above-ground storage tanks built in March are reflected on the current plan?
Well, that's not the current site plan.
Or the one submitted
That's
tonight?
maybe a proposed,
Rephrase, the one that we're looking at in our package tonight, does it reflect the above-ground storage tanks?
um,
No.
it does not, because that was part of a building permit package.
So the site plan we're reviewing for the
The
purpose?
building permit package, not a site plan. For a site plan, I'd have to go back through an entire process.
We have all the elevations.
No, no.
They've been there.
Since March, they got their, huh?
The tanks were filled in March, or the pad was filled in March?
The tanks were filled March 22nd.
Tanks can be filled and then relocated. When I was out there last week on Wednesday, I observed a new foundation of freshly graded dirt, which I have pictures of.
And I have pictures of the freshly graded dirt too, John, as I explained. They constructed the water line. The water line was probably 8 foot deep at that point, coming up from the roadway or more. They had to throw a place to throw all the dirt that they excavated out for bringing the water line into the site and all the way up, doubling it there. And the fresh concrete is because I told them, you got to have a containment wall. Whether it comes down or not, you can't have anything here without a containment wall. So they put a containment wall up.
So they had gasoline tanks with no containment wall and no approval from the town.
They did not have they had, they did have an approval. Town told them, we don't get involved in that.
Right? But you
That's
don't
an
know- You don't
approval.
know who told them that.
That's right.
I don't want to drag staff through the mud. I can, but I don't want to.
Well, I mean, they're business owners. They should know that anywhere they go, if they're like creating stuff from the ground up, that they might want to check with the town. John,
They did.
You know?
They did. Okay,
Well,
I'll
and-
drag them through the mud. They
You can
did, and they
take-
checked with Carroll County.
all
And I
right,
can have their secretary come in and say, yes, I talked to this person.
all right. So I guess, I mean, my concern is that this is like an ongoing thing, and there's so many things that they've done without following through any chain. And I know, and they hired you, and you're trying to, like, you're the buffer. They're not here. They're not here intentionally, I'm sure, because then they'd have to sit up here and have us ask questions to them that you're representing them and you're the buffer, and I understand that. But just because you can help them do it right, it wasn't just one little thing. It's now one thing and another thing, and this is pretty big,
There are only 2 actions that occurred before they were stopped. One was the building permit, and then the tanks.
Yep.
Well, they weren't.
Kind of big things, especially the tanks.
Well, the tanks, if they go and talk to the agencies, MDE says, nope, you're good to go. Carroll County, you're good to go. Town of Mount Airy, we don't get involved. What are they supposed to do? I mean, they went and asked.
Okay.
That the process says, wait a minute here. You have to have a special exception.
I think that somebody has.
And when the special exception comes forward for you, I'll have the secretary come in and she can say who she talked to in the town.
Did you bring the, whatever they got from the county and MDE?
I did not. I started gathering documentation, particularly when the tanks arrived, the purchase order of the tanks, the filling of the tanks, to
That'll
document
come
that.
in with the special exception, right?
Huh?
I guess those documents will be with the
I
special exception.
can't remember if I submitted them with the special exception or, I don't remember because I rushed to get it in.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kim Bynack. I'm a Mount Airy resident. There is no objective review in this. And that every time Mr. Thompson asks for a special exception, what's the use of having a special exception if you're going to approve everything? People need to go through the process and go it through correctly. And this is not the way to go.
Yeah, just so you know, we're not deciding the special
I
exception.
understand. I'm
Okay.
just
I just wanted to
stating a
clarify that.
fact.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm kind of, I was on the fence because I felt bad. They'd ordered the steel. They didn't have any place to put it. It's not, but then this happens. And I just, I can't approve it. I can't do that right now.
I guess their feeling walking is, why did we ever come to Mount Airy?
Well,
And that's what they've expressed.
Well, they also expressed that, they can tear down a shed without getting a permit for it. They can start building a shed without getting a permit for it too. And they can put gas tanks up without getting a permit
that's
for it.
what,
So
that's
you know
what,
what?
we're- that's
Well,
what.
I think there's a problem
They're getting
there.
a permit. They filed for the permit. That's not correct. The permit going through took 2 or 3 months of working through fire protection
And Mr.
code
Breeding
issues.
driving by the property and noticing that they're tearing something down and wondering what's going on because he didn't know anything about it. Right? Did you know anything about that, Mr. Breeding? That they were tearing something down in town and they were going to erect a larger structure than the one that was there before?
No.
Okay. So their intended purpose
Against
was to
you,
build
Ron,
something up.
Because, you weren't, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to advocate for your client. I understand that. But right now, your client was not your client when they did all this. So, and I know you're trying to correct it, but they need to answer why they keep doing these things and not checking with the town. It's not that we don't want them here. Yes, we want them here, but we also want them to be good stewards of the town and their business and do what they're supposed to do within the town limits.
I think that they are. The fact that they readily agreed to extend a water line, double the length, they didn't have to do that at their cost. They could have just put it in on the approved site plan and been done. They're not doing anything now without having a site plan put in for it. They've stopped all work other than what was under the PWA, under the original site plan. So they are not proceeding with anything without a new site plan.
So do we have something,
we can make a motion.
we can just change, I mean, if we're not changing it, we don't do it.
We're, the possible exception to, I guess we'd make the motion. I'm kind of at a loss here.
Okay.
I think the request would be a motion to authorize the zoning administrator to sign off on the building permit
Or not.
or not, without an approved amended site plan.
Does anyone want to make a motion? It doesn't have to be for.
I mean, I would make a motion to deny the request for reconsideration.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of denying the request for the building permit, to reconsider the building permit, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? I think that John needs to sit down with them and go over everything, John, and put down in steps what they need to do and how they need to take care of this. You know, it does, I understand that they feel like we don't want them here, but I can't in good conscience let all this go through on one piece of property.
All the other issues, do we know about the family? When will that be decided?
At the next council meeting, it's at
Coming up,
council
okay.
level, so we don't,
Okay.
that's out of our hands right
He's
now.
asking about the family. And we referred,
Yeah.
we made a recommendation to them.
They have not set a public hearing date yet.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
assume that
it's
would
gotta
be
be,
set
it's gotta be
this meeting.
introduced in November.
Yeah, it'll probably be reintroduced and then a public hearing set in December, I would gather, along with the vote after the public hearing.
Okay, moving on. They're just gonna have to find some place to put that steel. Our next item is the introduction and discussion of the possible recommendation to Town Council text amendment. Ordinance 2022-32, proposed modification to the MXUCC overlay zone. Did Carl leave any notes or anything?
He did not give me.
Okay,
any
well,
notes.
but,
Speak to it.
yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
So this ordinance was introduced by Councilman Munder.
Can you just turn your microphone down, just the tip of it down? There you go.
Thank you. This ordinance was drafted by and introduced by Councilman Munder. The purpose is to introduce prohibited uses in a mixed-use development in the CC special exception. According to Councilman Munder, he would note that at least 3 of these prohibited uses are prohibited uses in the MXD. And so I think those being pawn shops, vape shops, and dispensaries. And then he added tobacco shops, businesses that sell cannabis for medicinal recreational use, and then a business that sells alcoholic products for off-site consumption.
Right.
Liquor stores, I guess. So that's the purpose of this. There is one cross-reference that we're going to need to correct. That's under H, about 1, 2, 3, 4 lines up, referring to the pattern book in section 98-61B, it should say C, because that's where the pattern book is described. So that clerical error needs to be corrected, but, which I'll talk to Councilman Munder about as well. But anyway, that's the purpose of this, as described to me by,
But those are the only changes, right?
that's correct.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah,
Okay, so
I did have a question about on the whereas, page 1, 2, 3, 4. It says, whereas the town wants to bring uniformity in non-permitted uses to closely related zoning classifications. Is non-permitted, oh, I see. I have like non-conforming in my
I should
head,
say
but non-committed, permitted means the ones in D. Okay, all right, thanks. I want some reading.
I thought, and I guess I'm wrong,
What?
I thought you couldn't zone out dispensaries.
Cannot zone it entirely from the town.
All right.
Can relegate them to certain
Specific
areas.
areas, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think we may have even done that, or else or else I'm sure they're going to. Yeah.
Which normally is industrial is typically where that would go.
Right, okay.
Or regular commercial, I think.
Right,
I mean,
and
just like-
CC, but and just in speaking with Councilman Munder, I think his reasoning is that with the MXUCC, you're introducing now residential use in close proximity to
Right,
commercial
right.
use. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's as described by Councilman Munder.
Yeah, I mean, these make sense.
If,
Okay,
since this is targeting Green Tree, let's be clear, it's targeting a particular project here, since there's only one MXUCC.
that's correct. That's correct.
Only
Targeting Green Tree.
B1. I mean, there's other potential.
I can't talk about other potential, it's
mixed-use
targeting a
uses.
particular project.
All right, so what is
think
it
that
that
from
you
our
wanted to be
perspective-
there?
Is that, and Mr. Potapan is here, but to say that you can't sell alcoholic products and allow them to be taken off-site, I mean, yeah, you have residential, but there's all residential against commercial.
sell liquor.
You should be able to do that. You go in to have a nice dinner, you purchase a bottle of wine, you drink part of the bottle of wine, you cork it and leave, you're now in violation because of item 6. You know, whether or not, I don't think that Mr. Potapan ever believes you're going to have a pawn shop, vape shop,
Okay, well,
tobacco dispensary, but to say that
okay, let me just stop you for a second. So that's your only concern about this? I mean, we don't want, he's over here. We don't want liquor stores or stores that are just there to sell alcohol. Now, I mean, if somebody's buying a bottle of wine to have with dinner and they're bringing the rest home, then that's not the, I mean, we could, that's not the intent. Any business that sells alcohol products for off-site consumption, that's not the purpose. But we could, I mean, I wouldn't have any problem changing it to a business that, you know, just adding language that exempts that specific situation that you're talking about.
Let me give you a couple other
Go
examples.
ahead, go ahead.
What happens if I was approached by one of the Carroll local wineries and they wanted to do a tasting room? Or Miscellaneous Distillery wanted to do a tasting room? They're not going to do a tasting room if, after you sit down and you taste their wine, you can't say, I'd like to take a bottle of that for a Christmas gift, and I'd like to take a bottle of that home, because they can't turn around and sell it. I mean, they can do it in the farmer's market, but they can't do it in the storefront. The other thing too is some restaurants, and I'll speak to one in the Baltimore County area, you know, a $35 bottle of wine, if you go into a restaurant, you're going to pay $70 to $100 a bottle for it.
Right.
There's a restaurant in Baltimore County where they have wine on the perimeter, and you can go up and select a bottle of wine for dinner. And you pay a corking fee. You pay $15, so you pay retail for that bottle of wine, and
Yeah.
You pay a $15
Bring your
cork
own
fee, so
bottle and you
don't-
pay a
don't
cork
pay a
fee.
huge markup on it.
Right.
But you can also buy a second bottle to take home. You enjoyed the first bottle. Oh, I'd like to take a bottle home because I have people coming over Saturday night for dinner. You can take a bottle home with you and do the same. So
I mean,
the way it's
so,
written
so,
would limit,
right.
would restrict that. And that
So,
would-
so clearly, you can understand the intent. We don't want liquor stores, we don't want wine shops that are just for people to come, that are, bringing people extra traffic in just to buy alcohol and leave their premises. Now, what you're talking about are very different things, and, maybe,
We need to,
yeah, and we don't necessarily need to do it.
Let me ask a
I
question.
don't have any, I personally, I'm sure that maybe other people might, and people who.
Are liquor stores allowed in an MXD?
Well, that's what I was, in MXD or in,
MXD?
if they're, I actually want to know if they're allowed in.
Yeah, they are.
MXCC.
Then if they're allowed in MXD, why are they being precluded in?
Hold on, are they allowed in MXCC?
MXUCC?
MXUCC, right now.
Well, yeah, because he's adding this as a prohibited use.
I mean, do they?
That's this right
Are
now.
they currently
This
allowed?
proposes that.
Are they currently allowed under the regular statute, the original ordinance? That's why I got my guy over here with a book.
There's no
112.
prohibited.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, section 1.
I don't have my book with me. John, can you
Okay.
pull it up?
I don't have a computer in front of me. I think Tom's looking right now.
It's not listed specifically, but if I recall correctly, there are some catch-alls that talk about general retail,
Yes.
I believe.
And we got to the
Yeah,
point where,
retail sales and service, that'd probably be an alcohol, a liquor store.
well, didn't we get to the point too where we decided that we weren't going to list everything that was
That's correct.
approved? We were just going to do the prohibited ones.
That's correct, that if there are particular, the decision came to be made that if there were particular uses that were particularly not wanted, then you would list them as a prohibited use.
Right,
Alcohol sales was not listed as a
prohibited use,
prohibited use.
right.
That's the only one that we think should be struck from this.
I'm looking for.
Number 6.
CC. Oh, it's a text amendment, that's right.
And again, as Ron said,
Basically, can you turn your mic off?
any restaurant,
So you're,
wine, if you have one glass or 3 glasses, you can cork it, take it out and leave. As it's written, we would be in violation.
Right, exactly. That's why we're trying to figure out what,
But the way around that, if he wants to keep that too, is any business that sells alcoholic products as their primary business or their primary sale.
But I would also say, since it's community commercial, its uses should be consistent with MXD, and a liquor store should be allowed, because in an MXD, you have residential right adjacent to the
right.
commercial.
Right.
There is no difference. The difference is Carl lives down the street. So,
And the other thing too is the liquor board process. Applying for that liquor license is pretty restrictive. And there's limitations. It says you can't be so close to a school. And I don't know all the criteria that goes into it, but I know there's a pretty restrictive list that, where you're allowed to put a liquor store based on the liquor board.
Just the MXD does specifically list as a permitted use, quote, alcohol sales, breweries, distilleries, and wineries. Just
All right,
Okay,
scratching 6.
That's MXD, right?
yes.
Okay, so in MXD, whatever.
Turn your mic back on.
No. Made me turn it off. I'm just kidding. All right, so MXDCC,
MXUs.
MXU, CC.
oh, sorry, MXDCC.
That's okay.
So you can have restaurants and lunchrooms, clubs, fraternal organizations, hotels, resident. So, I mean, do they have non-permitted? Where are the non-permitted? Do we have non-permitted? Okay, there's no non-permitted, right? Listed in MXU, CC?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, so, I mean, I'm not saying what I agree or disagree with. I'm just saying that doesn't make it like, oh, Carl's targeting this because he lives down the street, because it's not in here as permitted. If he was trying to take it out, then I'd be more with you. But it's not in here saying it's permitted and then he's trying to take it out. So, to me, I think that we could probably work with, what you're looking for. I mean, I don't know what the council will think about it, but I understand what you're
We
concerned
would like
with.
number 6 struck, because quite honestly, there is no difference between MXD and MXUCC other than MXD, you rezone the property, MXUCC, it's an overlay for it, but it's still the same.
I'm not sure, and I have to compare them side by side, but isn't, that's a pretty small parcel there?
It's 19, the site plan's approved for, I think, 19,200 square feet of commercial total on 2 floors. So.
It's still modest.
Yeah, I'm not talking about how.
9,500.
Yeah, I'm just, what I mean is a lot of, density, residential density, and then the commercial. And so if you have a lot of excess traffic, like people coming in to go to a liquor store, I think that would be excessive, as opposed to you have a restaurant, people can come in and they can have a bottle of wine and bring it home, or maybe,
But that,
I probably wouldn't push it, and I'd probably be happy that we are actually open to what you're saying. That would be my opinion.
but
All we're saying is that everything else we're in agreement with. We would like number 6, to either change the wording with number 6 or to strike it. I think that Steve has something, any business that sells
Alcohol products as their primary.
Or alternatively, because it's not listed in
their primary
permitted
business.
use, we could add something to the permitted use that's clear, and then we could do both. Like, we could prohibit what you just said, and we could add permissible that brings some clarity to.
Right, I think that the least we do, the better, especially with the text amendments. So if we could, I've got to think, go ahead, honey.
Thank
I'm
you,
sorry.
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry I didn't,
I want to mention too, there's 2 preschools close. There's 2 preschools close to this.
there are.
Daycares, preschools, yeah.
Well, did that liquor board specify? So if the preschool is too close, the liquor board's going to say.
Going to deny it.
We're going to deny it.
Should we just say liquor stores then? Instead of, because it's not a restaurant.
I would just like to strike, I would like to say something about selling alcohol as their primary product.
What happens if I had a tasting room? I mean, they're not serving food at all. That would be exempt from that, based on that. Miscellaneous couldn't go up there and have, right now, they're in the lower level of 114. If they wanted a storefront where they had more visibility, they couldn't do that up there.
Yeah, why would they want to do that up there?
They aren't doing food.
Have more visibility.
No, up there, like
They can do it on.
middle of the neighborhood, like, why would they want to be up there?
The miscellaneous can set up at the farmer's market and sell it right there.
Yeah,
It's
you're
in the
right,
middle of
yes.
downtown.
We can't do it up there in a storefront.
Well, yeah, I think that's probably true. I think that is what we're saying.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I don't,
I think we need more time to think about this. I don't think we're gonna, we're not gonna vote on it this evening. I want more time to go over it and think about it. You know, the corking, the cork and go in the restaurant, yes. I mean, I can see that. The tasting rooms, I can kind of see that too, but we just need to discuss this further. I don't think we're gonna act on it this evening.
For full disclosure, I haven't been approached by anybody.
Okay, I know, you're just doing the what if. I understand.
I appreciate your comments. Yeah.
Think that, I come to the table with somebody in my pocket already. There's no one that I've even had a remote discussion about that type of business.
Yeah, we're definitely, yeah, and you're definitely, right, and you're definitely agreeing with all the five. It's that number 6 that we're worried about.
It's possible with MPCA conference early this next week, we should ask if anyone has any of this type of situation in their community now and how they deal with it.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking, is checking around and seeing who else has something like this that we could.
I'll also, my last statement, one is, first of all, he's not going to put somebody into the building that's going to degrade the residential development that he
Sure.
wants to build.
Absolutely.
And two, remember that Councilmember DeMotor required an extensive landscaping plan to ensure that there was a separation between the commercial and residential. So it's not like, walk out your door from your townhome and walk into a liquor store or venue selling those products.
Right,
No,
right.
I did want to say,
I'm more
just,
concerned with people driving in, more traffic coming in to buy stuff at the liquor store.
well,
Go ahead.
I did want to say, just to play devil's advocate, if you're excluding vape shops, you're excluding tobacco shops, dispensaries, but we're allowing alcohol, then we'll give that an exception. It's all the same.
Well, I actually have a couple of comments to that as well, but, I'll save them.
So what I'd like to do, it says for introduction and discussion, so I'm just postponing.
We discussed.
We have discussed, but we're continuing to discuss. It's not tabling it. We're postponing a decision. And the education is, when you table something, it means that nothing changes. Whatever you table, it goes directly the way that it was tabled. When you postpone, you can have more discussion. So that's what we're doing. We're going to postpone the decision on this until our next meeting.
Madam Chair, and as a
Yes, sir.
footnote along the lines of what Bill recommended, I think there would be value not only in consulting others who may have come across this, but maybe even tapping into the advice of the liquor board itself, because I'm sure they have gone through their own discrimination of licensing all flavors of such alcohol sales, packaged on-site premises, with a meal, et cetera. So perhaps there's some education gained from talking to them also on this and getting the right wording.
I don't know,
Thank
do
you.
they talk to people about this kind of
Bud
stuff?
Schaefer represents a lot of people in Carroll County for liquor board applications. I've never applied for a liquor license in Carroll County, so I don't know what all the criteria is.
That
I
might be
just know
somebody to look.
Schools are a big
Can you
issue.
reach out
There's
to
certain
him?
things that there's setback requirements for.
Yeah. We'll reach out to Clark.
Carroll County. 'Cause
You can reach out to Carroll County and reach out to Clark, please.
I'm not going to reach out to Clark because he's not working for me. I'll reach out to the source, which is the Carroll County Liquor Board.
Okay, I'll reach out to Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Breedy.
You can do that.
Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Podovan. Okay. We're on to reports and other business and future items. Mr. Munder's not with us this evening, and we do not have a report that was sent to be read. We have the zoning administrator report for September. Are there any questions on that? We get to our next master plan work session, and I think we had talked about moving that to the 4th. Third.
Well, if we're supposed to be discussing transportation before the 15th, then we might have to move it to the 4th.
Yeah, I think we better do that. And if you don't mind, what is your name, John?
Yeah.
Reaching out to Hannah to see, how extensive this needs to be, so we know what we're talking about, on the 3rd.
Well, I can see if she could possibly even be available to come down and speak to us.
Well, that's a good idea.
Probably what I'll do.
Okay, so we're changing the work session to November the 3rd.
And that's the usual.
That's the usual.
Date.
Yep, at 6. We'll be talking about, obviously, we'll be talking about the transportation. And the next chapter was chapter 4, which is housing. No,
Those 6.
zoning. What is 4? I'm sorry.
I don't have it in front of me, I apologize.
I didn't bring in my big bag of tricks. It has to do with zoning.
Yeah, it's not there.
Just chapter 4, whatever it is. Land use, thank you, land use and zoning.
Good job.
And our next planning commission meeting will be November the 28th at 7 PM. That will be our last meeting of the year. And I would also like to say that we would not have a workshop in December as well. So our last workshop will be November the 3rd, and our last planning commission meeting of 2022 will be November 28th.
Should we start that planning meeting early? Get everything done?
What, like 5:30 instead of 6?
5:30? Yeah, it seems to be a popular time.
We can't do it then. It might be a fairly long one, I'm not sure.
Very possible. November or January are probably both going to be longer meetings.
Okay, that's fine. So just enjoy your December off. I hope to see all of you tomorrow at some point. I'll be there. Bill and I will be there all day.
What time is everyone
I
getting
will not be there.
Right, you're working.
But have fun.
8 a.m.
So
Registration 7:30, I think the first class starts at 9.
Yeah.
that starts at 9.
7:30 to 9 would be the
Through
registration.
12 is the planning commission's training course and the Open Meeting Act training.
And if nobody has their tickets, I have copies, extra copies here.
Well, don't worry about that. I think Bill and I can vouch for you. I don't think that'll be a problem.
Ticket.
No ticket, no dice.
It's at the Clarion.
Right, 5400 Green Tree Road, I think.
Yep.
And Wade Gallagher from the Board of Appeals is also coming, I'm pretty sure. He's not sure exactly what time he's going to get there, but he.
Oh, that'll
he
be nice.
requested to be there as well, so
Awesome, awesome.
Good.
reach out to the Board of Appeals,
Thank you.
see if they wanted to go as well.
They are, I will mention, there are tours from 3 to 5. But however, you have to drive yourself to the meeting place. We tried to get transportation and we're not successful. So one of the tours has to deal with the brewery part, and then the other tour, I think, is about Carroll Creek, right?
Yeah, those are
So,
two of the key topics.
right.
The plenary session on Wednesday, starting at 9 a.m., 30 years of planning in Maryland, what we've learned. This is going to be a great session.
Wait, when's that? 9 a.m.
9:30.
9:30 on Wednesday.
After breakfast?
Yeah, yep, right after breakfast.
What's that?
I,
I want to be there, but.
yeah, they are being taped on Wednesday. They, yes, it will be
And in fact,
videotaped.
we've got
They have a
ba-
professional-
backup videographer,
Yeah,
so we can do cutaways, we can do concurrent
Will
sessions.
they put them on, like, their website?
Yep.
yep.
But there's going to be more coverage and hopefully they're more, more enthralling,
Yeah,
better produced.
we're paying for a videographer to
Yeah.
help with it. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting, 8:30. You all have a pleasant rest of your evening and rest of your week if I don't see you.
Well, enjoy
Yep.
conference.
We'll miss you, Leslie.
Oh, thank you.